Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another box set battle. This box set battle is dedicated to subscriber Stephen S, who blames me for getting him into Indicator releases. So this is an Indicator double bill, the Marlene Dietrich and Joseph von Sternberg at Paramount, 1930 to 1935. And the recently released Columbia Noir number 1. Noir set number 2, I believe, is coming in February. Hopefully they continue to do noir sets like their Hammer sets, because obviously there's a lot of film noir films. We'll start with the Dietrich von Sternberg, which is the same films that the Criterion box set has. I don't have the Criterion box set, so I can't really compare prints and extras. So this one has, it's a nice artwork cover. This one has 6 films: Morocco from 1930, Dishonored from 1931, Shanghai Express from 1932, Blonde Venus from 1932, The Scarlet Empress from 1934, and The Devil is a Woman from 1935. I'll just quickly go through each disc and what's on it. Obviously you get a lovely book, which is about 120 pages long, and again it has essays, images from the films, lots of good stuff, artwork. Again, the Indicator booklets, you know, sometimes Criterion, their booklets are like foldy out in huge size, whereas Indicator's booklets are good solid booklets. So the first one is Morocco, which also stars Gary Cooper and Adolphe Menjou. 92 minutes. Each cardboard has another poster and a still from the film. Morocco has an audio commentary with Sam Dagan and Kat Ellinger. Has an introduction by Nicholas von Sternberg. It has a 10-minute piece on the art of Joseph von Sternberg, again by his son Nicholas von Sternberg. It has a 59-minute radio adaptation of Morocco with Marlene Dietrich and Clark Gable. Morocco. Next is Dishonored with Victor McLaglen. This one has an introduction, but they pretty much all have an introduction by Nicholas von Sternberg. Let's get that out of the way. A 78-minute retrospective from 1969 on Joseph von Sternberg, and a 17-minute one from 2019 with film historian Tag Gallagher. Then we have Shanghai Express with a wonderful artwork. This one has an audio commentary with David Thompson, another intro from Nicholas von Sternberg, 24-minute piece called Trouble in Hollywood, which is about the life and career of Anna May Wong, who also co-stars in the film. Then we have Blonde Venus, a wonderful poster. This one also stars Cary Grant. This is an audio commentary with Adrian Martin, Again, another intro with Nicholas von Sternberg. 25-minute piece with So Mayer on Dietrich, a queer icon. The Scarlet Empress with Sam Jaffe. This has an audio commentary with Tony Raines, which I'll have to check out because Tony Raines is wonderful. An introduction by Nicholas von Sternberg. A 75-minute archival audio with Joseph von Sternberg, 2009. And one of the highlights of the box set for me, The Twilight of an Angel from 2012, a 54-minute documentary by Dominique Lieb, can't speak today, on Marlene Dietrich's final years, which is actually quite sad and quite moving. And there must have been something in my eye because my eyes did start to water during it. And then we have The Devil is a Woman with Lionel Atwill and Cesar Romero and Edward Horton. Again, introduction by von Sternberg. An 11-minute piece on the fashion side of Hollywood. A 23-minute piece from 2019 about styling the stars. And then there's a deleted 3-minute piece from 1935 of one of the songs that was cut from the film. If it isn't pain, then it isn't love, apparently. The Devil is a Woman. I would say about the Dietrich set, the films, I would say there's 2 really good films out of the 6. The rest of them are good films, I would say. Obviously this is subjective. You might absolutely love them all. The issue I have with the films are they look amazing, the production design's great. Von Sternberg really was a stickler for detail, costumes, again the look of the film, the production design. Marlene Dietrich is amazing in the films. She almost looks as though she's landed from another planet, from another time. She has all these amazing costumes and amazing outfits. I wouldn't say she's a great actress or actor, but she is a pure star in every sense of the word. And von Sternberg knows how to light her. He knows how to shoot her. She's amazing in these films. But my problem with them is the rest of the cast. Because it's early 30s, and again that transition from silent to sound, and kind of from theatre to film, a lot of the male leads are just terrible. Obviously Cary Grant isn't fully Cary Grant yet, and he's probably the best of the bunch, but a lot of them are really wooden. A lot of them are far too old for her. There's just a weird, so you have this amazing star and she's kind of surrounded by kind of moving pieces of wood almost. So there's a strange dynamic which makes the films a little bit odd, because they are a little bit odd. Morocco with Gary Cooper is the Foreign Legion film, and Gary Cooper's and Adolf Menjou are pretty decent in it, but again, you know, Dietrich has just got star written all over her. Dishonored is one of the best ones in the set, where she plays a spy. It has a fairly brutal ending, but this one's one of the best in the set. But again, Victor McLaglen, who I'm not really familiar with, is pretty bad as the male lead. So again, you've got Dietrich just starring the whole place up and just filling the screen with her presence. And then you've got these male leads that are just not that good. Shanghai Express is another good one, but again, it does feature Warner Oland, who would go on to play Charlie Chan in lots of films. Again, another decent little film, but I wouldn't say it was great. But again, this is just subjective. This is not. And then another really good one in the set is Blonde Venus. This is the one that stars Cary Grant, or co-stars Cary Grant. Again, a young Cary Grant. It's not fully fledged Cary Grant. Also does star Herbert Marshall, who obviously was in like Trouble in Paradise. But again, even for him, he's not that kind of zippy, energetic, full of life Herbert Marshall that we see. He is kind of beaten down and more kind of solid. But that's certainly one of the better ones, and it kind of gives Dietrich a bit more range as she goes on. She's a woman on the run with her kid. Then we have The Scarlet Empress, which is the one about Catherine the Great. Sam Jaffe gives a bizarre performance as her husband, as she's forced to marry. Again, it's the production design on The Scarlet Empress is amazing. Von Sternberg really went to town with it. And it shows the transition for Dietrich's character from an innocent little girl who knows nothing of the world to being Catherine the Great and in charge of the Russian army. So that's another good one, even though you feel, even at 104 minutes, it feels like there is some stuff missing as far as the complete transition. And then The Devil is a Woman, which again is a good solid one, but Lionel Atwill is really way too old for her, really stiff. There's a fun moment for Cesar Romero, who during a fancy dress party, which is a really wonderful scene, wears a bat mask on his face, and of course 30 years later he would play the Joker. So that's the Dietrich set. Then we have the Columbia Noir, with a nice yellow cover with Eli Wallach. So again, I'll just go quickly through the films. Again, another wonderful big thick book. Spoiler alert, people die in these films. Again, the extras on this bizarrely has some Three Stooges films, which are loosely based on the subject matter in these films. Again, lots of pictures, lots of articles. There's little Mickey Rooney. Again, a wonderful weighty book from Indicator, as they normally do. So we'll just go through them. So this is Escape in the Fog by Oscar Bedecker Jr., who obviously later would become Bud Bedecker. But here he's merely just Oscar. This one has an audio commentary by Pamela Hutchinson from 2020. It has a World War II documentary shot by Bud Bedecker, The Fleet That Came to Stay, from 1945. It's got the aforementioned Three Stooges, You Nasty Spy, from 1940. Then we have The Undercover Man, which, interestingly enough, at no point does anybody go undercover in this film. You wonder where they kind of got these titles from, because at no point does Glenn Ford or any of Glenn Ford's associates go undercover. This is directed by Joseph H. Lewis, who did Gun Crazy and various other films. This has a commentary by Tony Raines. This has Man on a Bus which was a short film directed by Joseph Lewis for the United Jewish Appeal in 1945. And again, a Three Stooges about the Income Tax Bureau, the Treasury Department, which is what this film's about, Glenn Ford. Then we have Drive a Crooked Road with Mickey Rooney and Kevin McCarthy as a villain, who's excellent. This has an audio commentary with Nick Pinkerton from 2020. This has a Guardian interview with Mickey Rooney from 1988, which is 83 minutes. It has an introduction by Martin Scorsese from 2012. It has Mickey Rooney Then and Now, a short 10-minute promotional short from Columbia from 1953. Then we have another Three Stooges, Higher Than a Kite. So if you want the Three Stooges in Blu-ray, then this set's for you as well. Then we have Five Against the House with Sinbad himself, Cameron Matthews, and Kim Novak and Brian Keith, directed by Phil Carlson. This has a commentary by David Jenkins. It has a Guardian interview with Kim Novak from 1997, which is an absolute blast, which is 67 minutes long. And again, we have another Three Stooges, Sweet and Hot. Then we have The Garment Jungle, which isn't as sleazy as the cover would suggest. This was finished by Vincent Sherman, but actually started by Robert Aldrich before he had a falling out with the studio head. So there's a kind of debate which the extras go into about how much Aldrich did and how much Sherman did. This stars Lee J. Cobb, Sinbad again, Cameron Matthews, Gia Scala, Richard Boone, who's absolutely fantastic, and Robert Loggia in a very early performance. There's a commentary with Kevin Lyons. There's a 20-minute archival interview with Robert Loggia, the screening of the film from 2007. There's a 15-minute excellent interview with Tony Raines about Robert Aldrich and what happened in The Garment Jungle. There's another Three Stooges, Hip, Sew and Stitch, where they're tailors. Never really found the appeal of the Three Stooges personally, but that's just me. And then The Lineup, which I recently did a random review of, by Don Siegel, which is a very strange and wonderful film. This has an audio commentary, but there's two audio commentaries. One by author James Elroy and Eddie Miller of the Film Noir Foundation. Another one by David Duvall and screenwriter C. Courtney Joyner. Christopher Nolan has a 7-minute appreciation of film noir. There's a 7-minute 2020 video piece on the streets of San Francisco and the locations. 3 episodes of the Lineup radio series, because it was a radio series, then a TV series, then they did a film. Excuse me. And then another Three Stooges from 1953, Tricky Dicks. And then a Trailer from Hell commentary from Josh Olson. Now, the films in the Noir, Volume 1, personally I wouldn't call all of them noirs, or noirs as I feel about noirs. Noirs for me should have that kind of fatalism, that kind of sense of doom. The people who start the film shouldn't necessarily end the film. There has to be a price to be paid. There has to be personal and psychological devastation for a proper noir, in my opinion. But these are all noirish, so that's kind of where they kind of come out, I think. 2 of the films are just excellent. Obviously I did a random review of The Lineup, that's one of them. And the other 4 are really, really good. And there's a couple of strange ones. but they're still really, really good. So Bud Bedeker's Escape in the Fog. It's only 63 minutes. It's about spies set in San Francisco. It's about foreshadowing of dreams. Again, I would say it was solid. Again, it's another wonderfully economic film from Bud Bedeker, who obviously would go on to do the Randolph Scott Westerns, which are also an Indicator box set, and one of the best Indicator box sets. You could make the argument it might be the best Indicator box set. Those films are just so good. Then we have The Undercover Man. Like I said before, nobody goes undercover. This is about tax evasion. It's essentially a police procedural about catching the equivalent of Al Capone. Very influential on the Untouchables. Certainly Brian De Palma must have seen this film. It's all about books and trying to find these books that have all the tax dodging details. Again, for me, I'm not sure that really is a noir. It's more a police procedural. It doesn't have kind of the elements of noir, I wouldn't say. But again, it's still very good. Regardless, it's still very good. You can argue over the semantics of whether it's a noir or not. And then the other film that's absolutely wonderful, Drive a Crooked Road, with Mickey Rooney. Playing a mechanic who's down in his luck and gets teased at work for not having much luck with the ladies, and then enter the femme fatale who takes a shine to him. The script was actually done by Blake Edwards. And then enter Kevin McCarthy and his sidekick, because they want Mickey Rooney, who also races, to do a job for them. This is total noir. It's about a character who thinks, he's in luck and his life is changing, and of course his life is changing for the worst. There's Mickey Rooney in a car. It's really good. Kevin McCarthy, who you don't necessarily see him as like a heavy, he's really good. His sidekick, who has these odd kind of psychopathic lines, he's really good in it as well. That's certainly one of the other excellent films in this set. Then we have Five Against the House, which is one of the weird ones. Again, like I said, with Kerwin Matthews as Sinbad, and Kim Novak, early Kim Novak, and Brian Keith, who plays his usual psychopathic hothead. It's about guys who are in college, even though they all look as though they're in their 30s. A couple of them come back from the Korean War, and just for a bit of fun they decide to rob a casino. Again, I don't really think this is a film noir, but again it has some elements of noir, but it's a strange little film, but it is enjoyable. At 84 minutes, it doesn't necessarily outstay its welcome, but it's just an odd one. Then we have The Garment Jungle, that again is not as sleazy as it would appear. This is about unions. It's about, well, originally the Robert Aldridge version was really focusing on the Jewish immigrant, anti-Semitism, and the union, about this Jewish fashion designer who's caught between the mob wanting to give protection and the unions wanting him to join the union and making a unionised shop. But that kind of got lost. There's Sinbad with Gia Scala. That kind of got lost in the cut that actually emerged. In actual fact, the Jewish designer dies in the first 10 minutes, so that subplot got quickly removed. Lee J. Cobb, who in the same year would shout a lot in 12 Angry Men, shouts a lot in this one. He's the head of the factory that doesn't want the union and pays for protection from Richard Boone, who's just sensational in it. In Richard Boone's typical, really threatening way. And Cameron Matthews is his son, who comes back from overseas, not knowing anything about the business, and learns about what's going on. And then you have a really young Robert Loggia as a union guy who's trying to get the factory to break into the union. People die. Again, really enjoyable. Not sure it's a noir. Well, at least in my warped mind, I don't really consider it a noir. But again, it's really good. It's really enjoyable, even though you can tell that there was two directors. You can tell that it doesn't quite mesh together, but it's still a really good little film. And then we have the lineup. Again, I've done a random review of that, so you can go check that out if you want. Probably the best film in the set. A really strange, again, based on a radio show, based on a TV show, which was pretty much a police procedural, but then it takes a left turn as soon as Eli Wallach and Robert Keith turn up as a hitman and his handler, who are there to recover drugs that have been brought into the country by unsuspecting travellers in statues and pieces of art and dolls. It really goes to dark and brutal places. It gets really philosophical about gangsters and the nature of violence. Again, it's unusual for a noir in the sense most of it's in broad daylight. Shot in San Francisco. It just has a weird vibe to it. Again, it's almost as if somebody came from the future to write the second half of the film, because it just like is quite modern in its dialogue and the way the philosophy of it. And obviously it also goes to quite brutal and strange places. Eli Wallach's second film, I believe, also stars a young Richard Jekyll, and it's wonderfully strange. So that's an overview of both sets. Again, this one was difficult. Again, critics of Indicator can say, well, they don't have, masterpiece after masterpiece in their collection, but again, that's subjective anyway. But what they do have is wonderful extras, and yes, the films should be more important than the extras, but their films are always interesting, even if not always successful, and they do have gems. So, in summing up the DIETRICH set, I would say, pound for pound, the films aren't as good as the noir set, I would say. But DIETRICH is amazing. Again, she's let down, I think, by her leading men. The extras are really good. The one about her last 15 years, which she pretty much just spent in a bedroom because she didn't want the outside world to see her aging and it would ruin her image, is really sad, because she pretty much didn't have many friends. It goes into her background, what she did during the war, how she got like medals during the war. It's actually quite moving. So that's for me like the highlight of the extras on the DIETRICH set, even though you might not have a dry eye afterwards. Lots of good commentaries. Again, one of the negatives is all the intros by Nicholas von Sternberg. I get it. It's his dad he's talking about, so obviously he's going to be overly effusive about what his dad did. But it is a little bit wearing, because he pretty much, Joseph von Sternberg invented cinema and he invented everything and he did this, and I get it, but But the films themselves, 2 of them are really good, and the rest I would say are solid. But again, that's just subjective. You might love them all, and that's fine. I would say the prints are really good. The prints are really excellent. So that's the Dietrich set. And then the film noir set, again, I'm just being a little bit pedantic by arguing whether these are actually noirs or not. But they all have the conventions of noirs. I'm going to have to go through the commentaries, like Tony Raines and Kevin Lyons, who I like a lot, on their other work. 2 excellent films in this set, The Line-Up and To Drive a Crooked Road. Again, that's subjective, you might not think the same. And the other ones are either good but strange, or very enjoyable. So, as hard as it is, I think the Marlene Dietrich set's more important as far as cinema is concerned, more influential as far as cinema is concerned. But the winner of this box set battle by a nose is the Columbia Noir set. It's just because I'm more inclined towards noir, and I can see myself certainly rewatching these films a lot more than the films in the Dietrich set, and at the end of the day it's the films that matter, as good as the extras are. So this it's not a rout, it's not a blowout win. I would say it's very close. Obviously if you're a huge Dietrich fan, you're also going to prefer them over the noir set. Yeah, but I would say Dietrich is amazing in those films. She looks amazing. Her costumes are ridiculous. The production design in those films is wonderful. But for me, just my sensibility, the noir set just edges it. So thanks very much for watching another box set battle. Let me know in the comments below which one you prefer, if you have seen them both. Which one you're looking forward to the most if you haven't. And I will see you again for perhaps more box set battles. Depends how quickly I get through box sets. Even though that's me now finished all the indicators for box sets. In their line, even though, like I said, the Columbia Noir Part 2 I think is coming out in February. So thanks very much for watching. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying have a nice day.